smart ingredients, microbiome buzz. Is this hypo real in 2030? Welcome to a new podcast, Nutricosmetics 2030. I will be your host today, a bit rusty because I didn't do it in a while. And today's topic is gonna be about Nutricosmetics future trends and foremost why the big companies are still not boarding it. And I have invited today my colleague and friend Vincenzo from Carrara Advisory. I have to say that I've been looking forward to this discussion for almost maybe 3 years. I know that he's laughing now because that was the first time I contacted him about 3 years ago, asking just, to do maybe a bit of networking, exchange of ideas, and here we are. And Vincenzo, maybe if I start with the first question, that you say a little bit about yourself and your work.
Sure. First, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for being patient with me because 3 years is a long time. So I do appreciate that. So, with Vincenzo, I have about a couple of decades of experience in the beauty industry, mostly spent in the corporate world between Procter & Gamble, Elizabeth Arden, the Revlon, Shiseido, and another couple of companies. Then since 2018, so 7 years ago, I started my own firm, as you said, Carrara Advisory. So what we do at my firm, we help mostly beauty company shaping the strategy for growth to increase their value over the year. And we do that also helping them with business development, merger acquisition, financing, operation, licensing, and so on. So I'm passionate, I think I can say, about the beauty industry because the bulk of my career has been there, and I think will keep being there because it's a very active and dynamic industry, is big, it keeps growing despite what happened in the world. So it's very fascinating as an industry.
And if I may add, what's interesting for me, despite recessions and hiccups, it's still growing and growing and growing. Not always in volume, but in value for sure.
Definitely. I mean, I'm tracking, I say, the industry since about 25 years, and I keep monitoring the development, and it has been constantly growing between 4 and 5% every single year, except 2 times. One was the crisis in 2008, 2009, where it grew 1-2%, still grew, but little. And then with COVID. COVID is the only time when the industry didn't grow, but then more than recover in the following years. And now is a gain on the 4-5%. So you can safely bet in the industry. Obviously, not every single category in the industry grow 4-5% because there are different categories, makeup, skincare, fragrance, and so on. But on average, it keeps growing.
Great. Thank you for this insight. So if we go now to the questions about Nutricosmetics, and I would like to hear your angle because you're from the beauty industry, and I think that it's kind of what we want to achieve is bringing food closer to beauty. So I'm hoping to get really interesting replies from you. And what I did, I divided a little bit the topics, and it's gonna be a bit brutal because I like to add this element of humor. So the first part I named who's winning, who's pretending, and who's sleeping at the wheel. And the first question that I have, it concerns Asia, because I think it, in a way, it owns Nutricosmetics, and it's a cradle for Nutricosmetics. But Western brands are still tiptoeing around it, and I'm just wondering, is it, and I'm being provocative, incompetence, arrogance, or something else?
It's an interesting question because you're wondering if it works so well in Asia, why is not working in the rest of the world? And I would say it's something else in the sense that there are two elements that drive this dichotomy or different dynamics in the world. And those two elements are, one is culture and two is operation. And what I mean is that culturally, Asia has been using supplement, ingestible, nutricosmetic, call as you wish, since decades. So they are used in this kind of product, I mean the consumer. From the other side, there is the operation. The market, the retailers, the brands, they know how to treat, how to deal with this kind of product because they are totally different from the more traditional skincare makeup product. On the Western world, we are not there yet. I mean, US is a bit more developed, Western Europe less. From both the cultural aspect, but also the operational aspect. I mean, if I'm a consumer and I'm in Europe, I don't know where I can buy a nutricosmetic product. Shall I go to a perfumery, a pharmacy, a drugstore? So there is this, and brand, by the way, still struggling getting the proper distribution, talking about brick and mortar. So those are the two, let's say, elements that drive the key difference between Asia and the Western world.
Because I always like to pinpoint Shiseido. I think they progress the most when it comes to big global companies. And they kept it quite quiet that they have this nutraceutical part. And, for me, while everyone else was selling creams, they were quietly also selling Nutricosmetics. And, why do you think that they get away with it for so long and that nobody is challenging them, let's say, from the Western hemisphere?
I like that you talk about Shiseido, and as mentioned, I did work with Shiseido for a while. So Shiseido is actually a fantastic example that explains this dichotomy in the world, because they are actually very successful with Nutricosmetic, but in Asia. They built, let's say, their capability and expertise over the years, whether it's research and development, whether it's marketing, sales. So they are capable from an operation standpoint to work with Nutricosmetics. And they are successful there because also the market from an operation perspective and the consumer from a cultural perspective are ready for it. But Shiseido is not playing with Nutricosmetic in the Western world, at least not at the same level as it does in Asia. Why? Exactly for the same reason I was mentioning before, because the Western world today is still evolving and adapting to the Nutricosmetic. There is demand, but it takes time to, both from a cultural perspective and operation perspective, to adapt to this new kind of product. In fact, we will see that the most innovative retailers or brand startups are the ones that are driving this revolution today.
Okay, but if I would like now be a hard believer of what you said, is it a beauty from within that from the start it entered Western Europe or in general Western Hemisphere?
No.
What are we doing wrong?
Exactly. I don't think it is that from the beginning. I think it is a shift that is happening as we speak, by the way. And I witness also some brands that are in the market since a decade that started selling only online and only recently getting in brick and mortar, because also the retailer bit by bit start to understand that there is demand from certain consumer for this product. So what we don't do right is a couple of things. First of all is the message, the what. Because we still treat today Nutricosmetic as pharma product. We talk about ingredients, we talk about concentration, but we don't talk about what beauty consumer look for. They look for an experience, for emotion, for what's the ultimate benefit that they can get. And because we talk in this way, also beauty retailer are not open to it. So one is the message. Two is where we selling to. Now, Nutricosmetic is not a product that you use and the day after or the same day you get results and you see it. You need to believe on it and you need to use it regularly to see the benefit. And the only consumer that today will do that are the true passionate beauty consumer that are really after the performance and that ready to invest in a new habit in order to get that result.
But
Okay, while
just to ask you, it's like, but is this consumer out there, or which generation goes under this description?
Yeah.
Just sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine. So the consumer is out there. As in every category, you have a consumer with different level of involvement in the category. And it's not defined by age or generation.
Okay.
It's defined more about their relation with the category. Okay, so those consumers are the one we need to talk to. The one that are really after performance, and there are more and more today that are after performance in the beauty arena, because those will be the first to implement the product. Then the other will follow, but we need to start with those. The third element is the where.
The where.
Which is what I was mentioning before. Because if I'm a consumer, again, I don't know where to buy this product. So even if I'm ready to use it, even if you give me the right message, where I'm going to buy you? Because if I'm a beauty consumer and I go to a perfumery, I don't find you. In Europe, if you look Sephora, Douglas, Nocibe, they have less than 10 brands, maybe 5 brands on Nutricosmetic in the stores. So that's the other challenge.
But do you see this? Do you think this is the same in each country or each continent, or is there a difference between Sephora in, I don't know, Europe and Sephora in the States? Is there any difference in the product assortment?
It's a very good question. So I started monitoring the different retailers and channels in few geographies in the world, US, UK, Europe, and so on. And what we see is that perfumery tend to be the more skeptic about Nutricosmetic. And they stock few brands, less than 10, generally between 2 and 5 brands. And there is not lots of difference if you take Sephora, between Sephora France and Sephora US.com or .fr. They have more or less the same number of brands, even if different brands. The place where we see more of those products, whether Nutricosmetic or supplement, is drugstores. Okay, so it could be a Walgreens, it could be a Boots in UK, it could be a DM in Germany. So there is where we see a bit more brand. But again, we see many more brands in the US and UK rather than Europe. So Europe is one step back compared to US and UK. And then you have a store or channels that are in between. Take an Ulta in the US that is not a properly defined drugstore, is not a perfumery, but something in between. And they have brands that are a number of brands that is in between a drugstore and a perfumery.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the differences, let's say, that we see across the world. But those are the brick and mortar store. There is another set of brands that sell only in direct to consumer and online e-commerce. Is a huge number actually brand. But this means that there is demand. Otherwise, all those brands will not be there. Still, they struggle to get access to the store, the physical store, where consumers generally shop beauty.
But if you were, this just came on my mind, where would you launch a new brand? Which channel, and if you can be very specific, what would you do?
I would say it depends on the geographies, because you need to be today, for this product category, you need to be where your shopper is looking for you. So if you look into the US and the UK, most likely will be in the drugstores, because consumer in the drugstore also look for beauty, and they have also supplement, so they might look for you there. If you come to Europe nowadays, consumer might look for you more into pharmacy, because the European consumer is a bit more skeptic about ingestible. So getting something inside your body to get a beauty benefit. So they need a reassurance, a trust for your product that they will not get in a supermarket or maybe even in a drugstore. But if they buy you in a pharmacy, they say, okay, that's safe for my health, and they get the benefit of beauty. So today, maybe that could be the place. Also because, by the way, perfumery will not list you with few exceptions.
But if we go to something that recently happened, this the end of partnership between Ulta and Target, and just, is it this bad for Nutricosmetics or good? Because I had this impression like, okay, Ulta is more beauty retailer, and now they are positioned inside the retailer, traditional retailer. So this is really good for us because it's going to be a true, let's say, mix of food and beauty. What do you think about this?
I don't think there's a problem for Nutricosmetics in particular because Target has its own beauty ale anyway. So what they will do is amp up that ale and maybe get even more Nutricosmetics there. And Nutricosmetics is already present in Ulta. I think they have between 30 and 40 brands today. So they are already creating the Nutricosmetic, let's say, ale within Ulta, and there is opportunity at Target.
Great.
So,
Right. So next 2026, next year, let's discuss what gets overhyped next, because this is something that we, in most cases, see. And, I want to discuss trends, fads, and real signals. And can you name one ingredient that everyone will be chasing and one we will all regret that is being hyped, in your opinion?
very good question. So I would say the ingredient that I think we might see more in the future are ingredients that tackle not just beauty, but beauty and wellness together. So ingredients that are able to give a benefit on, let's say, skincare, nail, for example, but at the same time can address stress, just an example. Okay? That's what consumer after, is those multiple benefit and having a kind of holistic approach to beauty and wellness. Among those, one that I saw trending a lot, especially over the past 3-5 years, is ashwagandha. These, as an ingredient, tackle the two sides, the beauty and wellness side. And there are already few brands that use it, but a sense that we may see more and more of these ingredients or similar ingredients in the market.
For me, that's interesting because I've been listening to the story of ashwagandha for the last 7 to 8 years. But we actually, we experiment with it and we do NPD, but we don't have a client that is actually having a product in their assortment with ashwagandha. But the hype is there, the marketing is there. You see that there's a push for this ingredient.
It's not just the marketing. I would say I've seen that there are even quite few clinical studies on ashwagandha. So yes, there is the marketing, there is the hype, the excitement, but there are apparently also some data that prove that it drives results. Now, in combination with what other ingredients, this all depends on the final formulation, but per se, it has potential also from a technical performance perspective.
And the one that we will regret hyping?
Is actually the hype. And the sense is those kind of ingredients that have been talked about so much and have been overused across all multiple categories that sometimes they were used without considering the ultimate performance. And one example is hyaluronic acid. We know that it's good as a topical, but it's not necessarily good in terms of performance is if taken in an oral format way, especially considering the concentration of the active ingredient that you can afford in a gummy or a capsule or whatever it is. So at the end, consumers see that it doesn't perform. It's just the hype, it's just the fact that it says, okay, I'm using hyaluronic acid, but once they don't see the performance, they stop purchasing. So it's just a trial, and then you don't have the repurchase. So I think that within nutricosmetics, this we might see disappearing and other ingredient taking over.
Okay, I understand. Well, at the end, the consumer will vote with their wallets. So, one thing is like, who is more serious about combining ingestibles with skincare? And I'll give you an examples, and then if you give me a short analysis. Big beauty, indie disruptors, or the pharma giants watching from the sidelines? Because they are, in a way, trying to get also into the beauty area.
Yes. So again, I will make the difference between Asia and the Western world, because Asia, we have the big brands that already play there. So let's talk about the Western world. Within the Western world, the one that says that are more serious about that are the startup, the indie brands, the small one, the new upcoming brands, because they don't have the legacy. They don't have all the past that they need to stick to, all the, let's say, the old assumption of the beauty industry. They are the risk taker. So they dare to try new categories, new ingredients, new format, and they are actually the most successful today in within nutricosmetic. So those are for me the champion. Then there is Pharma. Why Pharma? Because they already know how to sell ingestible. They know how to treat it from a research and development perspective. They know how to sell it, how to market it. The only thing is they might struggle on the story, because they sell ingredients, they sell concentration, they sell capsule, they don't sell emotion. And beauty is about emotion. So they might struggle on that part, while the startups, they are great in selling a lifestyle. So those are the two, let's say.
But also, I guess they lack the promotion, because usually I guess it goes through the MDs, the promotion of the pharmaceutical ingredients or actives, and then here it's. Do you think that MDs are convinced in nutricosmetics? I've seen the dermatologists; they are, more and more convinced, not fully on board. But do you think that they will completely divert to some other type of influencer? Can we see this with pharma getting more populistic?
Yes, it's difficult. I mean, that they will do that, especially considering the fact that proper pharma, they are used to give something to consumer that gives an almost immediate effect. And nutricosmetic is not that. You need to wait 4-6 weeks to start to see results. So for them, is a bit difficult to accept that a product takes so long to give performance. So might be the part
But is
where
it
they
the
are
same
skeptic.
reason why big cosmetic companies are not jumping on board that fast as I would want to? Because there's no fast results. Because when you put your cream on, you actually can feel the results. But with nutricosmetic, or is there any other reason? I don't know. How do you see this?
For sure, it's not an easy sell, because you need to tell consumer to be patient. But also with skincare, they struggle with that, because also skincare doesn't give immediate effect, except certain products that have been developed specifically for making you think that your skin gets stretched, for example, fresher. So they try to give you some feeling or the sensation that something is happening on your skin, so that you have the immediate gratification. But the actual work of the topical product also takes time.
Okay.
So they try to compensate in that way. Selling a nutricosmetic that requires long time and you don't have an immediate effect is not an easy sell. And they are not capable of doing that today. So that's definitely one of the reasons.
I know that you're not a consumer expert, but just to ask you, why is it so long for a human being to wait for like 6 to 8 weeks to see results? What do you think?
That's the human being. We are not patient by definition. We want to have it all and now. That's how we work, and that's what consumer want for everything. It's not just beauty; it's a generic thing, and that's I think is for everyone.
Yeah, that I completely agree. We came from the gathering society. You gather, you eat, and then you starve and you gather and you eat as much as possible. I guess that's in a way the NK. Yeah. What's in your opinion the dumbest move we will see, or you expect brands to repeat also next year or year after year?
Okay, let's differentiate between the startup and the big brands or the big companies. Startups comes with great idea. They dare to use new ingredients, new format, and to get into nutricosmetic. But often they are not structured to properly operate from a financial perspective, scale-up perspective, or operation in general. And often they launch fantastic product with fantastic stories that consumer love,
Mhm.
but because they are not capable of driving a company, they shut down. And we've seen many of those, especially in recent years. On the other hand, the big companies, they are good on operation. But when they dare to try nutricosmetics, they do as a test most of the time. They say, okay, let's try it. If it works, then we keep going. If it doesn't work, we tried, that's it, let's abandon it. But nutricosmetic is not a test, because in order to be successful with nutricosmetics, they really need to learn how to market, sell it, where to distribute. They need the proper R&D capabilities. They need to understand innovation pipeline, which is totally different from the innovation pipeline of a topical product. So they need to be structured properly to do that. They cannot just do an experiment, manufacture 10,000, 50,000 pieces, put in the market and see whether it works, because they set it for failure. And they've done it, and they will keep doing it, unfortunately.
But
Because
what would be then the right way?
if they decide to go, they need to proper structure to make a conscious decision and say, okay, we will enter the category. And to do that, we build expertise, we build a dedicated team, and we plan for a successful future, not just launch 10,000, 50,000 pieces and see what happens. Because the approach is totally different. It's not launch and abandon, but it's launch and support, resupport the nutricosmetic and the market. They need to be serious about that.
But I would assume that in a way, there is a certain pre-existing structure or infrastructure already in those companies. You have marketing and sales, you have distribution, but yeah, you don't have R&D, but I guess they can, or MPD, and they can relate on companies as ours. If not in our case, there are other companies. But is there anything else that is missing, like directly, that you would say that?
I would say already the function you mentioned, the expertise required is different. I mean, selling a product that you put on your skin, or marketing or communicating about the product that you put on your skin is different from communicating a product that you put in your mouth. The marketing expertise of a person, a brand manager in a pharma company, and the one in a beauty company is different. And within beauty, even the marketing person that sells fragrance, which is just an emotional benefit, or skincare, that is an emotional / functional benefit, are different. Selling something that is intangible, like a scent, is not the same as selling a topical product. Makeup is a kind of in between. So already within beauty, you need a different kind of expertise within marketing. Imagine to something that is closer to pharma, where the marketing expertise is totally different. Same for sale. Same for the retailer. selling or having at shelf a product that you put on your skin, is safe, easy, is something. Having another product, Nutricosmetic, an ingestible, a shelf for the first time in your store, when a consumer comes there and doesn't know how to use it, it's not the same thing. You need someone that explains consumer how to use it. Unless they are already selling ingestible, let's take a vitamin shop in the US. No? Everyone goes there for those kind of supplement. So the consumer is used, the retailer is used. So that's a different thing from the retailer perspective.
But if I'm just do a bit of my, thinking about this. So if a consumer demands it and you don't do it, that means that basically on a long run, these companies will have to become smaller.
You are talking about the big beauty company
Yeah, the big beauty companies, because I assume that they will, and it's reasonable to have hard times to make this kind of a decision. And let's say that they don't do it, and a consumer has, at least this is what we see in different researches, there is the demand, there is this holistic approach, but, the demand is not fulfilled fully or not properly. So meaning that they all will go the path of, let's say, Estée Lauder, which, we see the downsizing numbers. Is that the circumstance, or is just...
Let's take the example of skincare. If a topical skincare would be replaced by Nutricosmetic that address skincare benefit, we may think in that way. But in this case, Nutricosmetic is not there meant to replace a topical product. It's something that is used on top of topical product. One reinforces the other. So I don't think that if they don't address Nutricosmetic, they will become smaller. And if they are becoming smaller, it's for other reason. But what I think is that they are missing an opportunity there that is addressed by other companies. I mean, in the US, supplement, so not only Nutricosmetic, but supplement in general, I understand that FDA has 4,000 brands approved. So imagine how big is demand from consumer if there are 4,000 brands registered in the FDA as supplement.
4,000, yeah. And then on the other side, we have, approximately 600 to 700 Nutricosmetic brands.
In the US, yes, if we consider the full distribution, including, for example, Vitamin Shop, all those kind of product brand distributed there, yes, it's roughly 700 brands.
Because this is something that we, just by researching the internet, we've fulfilled our database with about 630, 670, it depends. On the year, of course, it goes up and down for a couple of them. Yeah. So if we move to the next phase of our conversation, I want to discuss, because we like to say Nutricosmetics 2030, and that's a dedicated platform that we have where we also will put this podcast down. But 2030 is, it came out like, kind of a year where something will change, at least this is how we predict it. And let's say that that's the year of big bets. And there are some hard calls that need to be made. And, let's discuss who wins, who dies, and what changes forever beyond 2030. And the first question is, by 2030, does Nutricosmetics get regulated like Pharma, or keep skating by as a vitamin aisle sideshow?
It's a very good question. So I don't have the crystal ball, but Nutricosmetics today doesn't exist as a beauty supplement. It's food supplement. At least in Europe, is classified in this way. So today it's regulated more as food rather than as beauty. However, it's an ingestible. It's an ingestible that starts to claim more about beauty, sometimes about health. So it starts to, attract the attention of the regulators in the different countries. We know how complicated the Europe is, but in general in the world. So we may expect a bit more scrutiny and a bit more regulation, especially in Europe, in the nutricosmetic arena, but I don't think we will get to the level of pharma. I think it will be something in between beauty and pharma, because most of the time is about beauty benefit only, exclusively, yet is something that you ingest as a pharma product. So that's where I see it.
I think it would be very welcoming to be a little bit more regulated. And I would even dare to say that, some of us get very regulated because we are very transparent and out there, and majority maybe does not. And it's not just the case outside of Europe, it's also the same in Europe. So, I think that's gonna just increase the credibility of the rest of us. So I would welcome that.
Correct. So it will also bring a bit more trust to the category from a consumer perspective, because as a consumer, if I know that there is a crystal clear regulation behind the category, I have trust. I know that I can eat that supplement safely, and it will give me the benefit, the beauty benefit, or beauty and well-being benefit, or wellness benefit. So I definitely agree with you, and we'll put aside, let's say, product or companies that today might be putting product in the market that is underperforming or overcommitting or not delivering against the consumer demand.
And also what comes funny to me is when we discuss regulation or deregulation, maybe on some other areas, but when it comes to medicine and food, I think that's one of the primary functions of the country. That's why you say I live in a good country, because this stuff are regulated. But yeah. So next question. A lot has been discussed in previously, but I would like to say, if there's going to be a positive outcome in 2030, i.e. smart ingredients, microbiome buzz, is this hype or real in 2030? In nutricosmetics, of
in
course.
nutricosmetic. Those are all great words. And I will say AI today is a bit overused. Everyone claims that is doing artificial intelligence. But I think that will be used more and more in beauty, wellness, nutricosmetic. It will be used in terms of personalization. That is one of the trends that everybody talk about. And some brands already claim about it. I hope that they will be even more rigorous on saying, okay, I use AI for personalization. But it will be used also for identifying new ingredients. And it will be used for predicting performance of the ingredients.
The outcomes,
The
efficacy.
To see, because we cannot do clinical study on every single ingredient, every single formulation. So a bit of predictive analysis through AI can help, at least in narrowing the innovation funnel and then focusing the resources on the most promising ingredient. So that's for sure.
Yeah, I can say on our behalf that we tried to do clinical trials on a lot of stuff, but you fail. And it would be nice to have an AI tool that, would, with some certainty, hopefully greater, predict something as an outcome. So, but when we are we discussed now the clinical trials, and I have a question here. And I assume the future is all about validation, clinical validation, scientific facts, hopefully. I hope that I will not become hallucinating too much also with the outcomes. Who can actually afford to do them properly beyond 2030? Because what I see now is, and there's a case of a very big company in the States, very known company, that just got really, really penalized because of the false claims. And it's all connected because they did some basic consumer studies. So who will do it properly in the future?
Very good question. First, I will say companies will keep doing clinical study for sure for the next 5 years. And the reason why is because, as we said before, Nutricosmetic, we need still to build the trust with consumer and with the retailers. And one of the way to do that is through the clinical study, considering that those products, as we were mentioning before, require 4-6 weeks to see effect on skin, for example. The clinical study tell consumer, you can trust us, use it regularly, and then you see the results. And it's not a consumer study, but it's something more tangible and that give a bit more confidence on the result. Now, who will do that? The big companies can afford it, whether it's a big beauty company that decide to enter the category or whether it's a pharma company. But the one that might want to do it, because those are the ones that are revolutionizing the category, are the startup. If they are baked by big companies like pharma companies that are, let me say, cash rich, and they can help those startup funding clinical study and using those results to prove the efficacy of the product.
But in your opinion, are there ways to, let's say, design properly the clinical study and make it affordable? Because if you're a startup, I guess that's one of the questions that you have, and it's a pain point.
It is because they are quite expensive. So not everybody, especially startup, if they are not baked well, can afford, and they are the one that needs the most. Now, not an expert on clinical study, but what could help is what we were saying before, is trying to define or build a funnel. If they don't manufacture together, they CDMO, contract and development manufacturer organization, develop a funnel that can help them investing in clinical study on the most promising formula. And they can go with the help with the artificial intelligence tools. They can start doing maybe some consumer study to see first whether consumers see a benefit or not, and then move into clinical study, or there could be other steps in between that can help them focusing the resources on the clinical study that have the highest likelihood of success.
Honestly, from talking from my personal experience, the one clinical study that was, or the ones that were the best performing, were when we did first the analysis of comments on Facebook and Instagram, and we could learn a lot from those comments, how we should design, in which direction, what did people by themselves claim that it's helping for. So we were already a bit assured, like, oh yeah, this is something that we need to investigate. And then we moved to consumer study, and from consumer study in a proper clinical study. And also, when we were a small company, and it was the first clinical study that we did was a huge investment for us. It was, I think it paid for us multiple times. It was an unbelievable also reassurance for all of us that what we are selling and preaching actually works, because there was a big also internal clash, but in general this clash with the expert community that, like 6-7 years ago, were calling it placebo. And we still see this stuff. Of course, it's very easy to say, oh, it's a TOSLA founded clinical study, so it's false, but that's not the case. It's properly designed if it's done by independent institute, and you have ethical commission, and if it's public, we can pay whatever we want. The outcome is here, and they're going to write about it. So yeah, for me it was, I think I was more successful in selling something knowing that behind it is a result. And I think that also brands that work with products that have a clinical study, it's just a different culture and different feeling when you go out there on the market. And I think that they would benefit from this. Yeah, next question. So, by 2030, are we at risk of seeing the same greenwashing in nutricosmetics that we have seen in beauty, or is going to be even worse?
I would say, in general, in the industry, we have seen lots of greenwashing, but we're seeing greenwashing because consumers were asking for it and companies were making it up. Okay. Now, consumers start to ask more about product performance than green or environmental sustainable product. So there is less demand. So in general, in the industry, companies or brand will focus more on performance than claiming about being clean, green, and so on. Number one. Number two, I said nutricosmetic is relatively new categories in the Western world. So they need to focus the communication on something that help them building trust with consumer, making them believe on the safety of the product and the performance of the product. So I don't think brand will start diluting their messaging, adding information about being green and so on. We could see performance washing, safety washing kind of claim. So company that overclaim performance and then under-deliver, which is very bad for consumer, for the category and the industry. Same on safety, unless we start the regulation work that needs to be done. So this might happen. Greenwashing are less concerned and considering the latest dynamic and specifically in nutricosmetic, the focus that the new brands need to have.
Yeah, if I share my pain, a couple of years ago, there was a big discussion about preservatives in food supplements, which from MPD, food technologies, R&D standpoint of view, it's a must. But then you have the consumer expectations. And I would say that more than half of the queries in the pipeline were related, but we don't want preservatives. And it went bad. Not for us, because we didn't want to do it. We explained this stuff. But for the brands that tried to go into that direction, it was problematic execution. And thank God we are now finally call it an irony, but COVID helped a lot to kind of, people got more educated because they started reading about these health facts, but also food facts. And now they understand that the preservative has been here for several decades and has enabled us to basically consume stuff that we should maybe would be available in nature per season, but not all year long. So I think that the consumer getting more educated is beneficial for the industry, for all of us, for brands, and it's an easier environment to work in. So, final round of questions. Well, at the end. And I want to ask you about prediction, hot takes, and calling BS. I'm not going to say the word. I don't want to get censored. So, who's one company everyone's sleeping on but shouldn't be? Be specific.
I'll be specific. First, generic. So I mentioned before a couple of things. So I think, and we talked about this in the ingredients, consumers start to look for a more holistic approach. So company or brands that start to offer a more holistic approach, beauty and wellness or well-being, benefit together, are set, I personally believe, for success, putting aside all the other factors. Companies that are accessible in terms of being present also in brick and mortar, but accessible from a price point perspective. A company that sell a lifestyle, not an ingredient, not a concentration. Those are the kind of companies or brand that personally believe might be set for success. There are a couple of other factors, but those are the three main ones. And the brand that I started looking is Youth Theory, is a relatively young brand, Nutricosmetic. They sell in brick and mortar, even Costco and Walmart in the US, and they sell lifestyle. Don't know whether you know the brand or whether you've seen their Instagram page. So they don't advertise. We have this
I know the
ingredient.
brand. I haven't seen the Instagram page.
So they don't sell. That's the ingredients. That's the concentration. They sell you a lifestyle, and their benefit encompass beauty, skincare, and wellness, well-being. They have, for example, even the ashwagandha as an ingredient. They have
I
collagen.
see you love ashwagandha.
Yes, I do. But they do have also collagen and other series of ingredients that tackle, let's say, the two sides of the same medal, the beauty and wellness. So they're accessible, the lifestyle. So I believe company such as, or brands such as Youth Theory might be set for success, and not everybody is paying enough attention to them today.
You mentioned one thing that just caught my attention, that they're being distributed in several different chains. Do you see this often, that Nutricosmetic brand is being distributed on different chains or channels?
Very good question. So we started building a database I was mentioning before about all the Nutricosmetic or supplement brand in general distributed in a few regions. And what we see is that it's very rare to find the same brand distributed first across multiple regions.
Mhm.
We found the one exception, a brand that is distributed across almost every region, but otherwise they are localized to one or two regions. And within the same region, they tend to be more exclusive to one single retailer rather than being present to multiple retailers. We see obviously some exception, about maybe 10% of the brand that are distributed across multiple retailers. But again, today is currently the exception.
Is that cost of success, that you need to be exclusively in one retailer because you're too small, and can we just pull it out?
Let's say the fact that they are present in one or a couple of retailers might be driven by different factors. Sometimes it's a choice, a conscious choice. You say, I go with one single retailer so to maximize their support, rather than diluting the support and being everywhere. The other side could be that it's difficult to get listed everywhere as a Nutricosmetic. So that's the struggle. They start with one, they prove success in one, maybe they get on the second one, and then when they become a global phenomenon, they get listed across region and multiple retailers. But again, is a category that is developing, so this could be one of the reasons on top of the, let's say, choosing specifically to be with one retailer to maximize their support.
You actually gave me a starting point for the next question. If you could give one unfiltered advice to a CEO that wants to start in the Nutricosmetics, what would it be?
Wow, that's a big question. I would say that he needs to clearly analyze the market, know what's happening over there, a bit as we have been discussing here, trying to understand where the consumer is ready, where they might be looking for the product, how to get the product in front of them, or create awareness in general. But if it's a startup, not just having a story and a good product, but understanding the operation. So those are the things that I will tell a CEO of, if they are a startup, to look at. If they are the big companies, again, we go back, don't do the experiment. Don't even waste time on doing experiment, because nobody gain from it. You just waste time and people or resources in general. Go with in or don't do it at all.
I would say good advice. What myth or cliche about beauty from within needs to be buried once and for all?
Now you will let me. So when we talk about beauty from within, most of the time, what consumers play back is collagen, okay? Which is true. It's true. I mean, is the first things that come to mind and is the fundamental for beauty from within. But it's not the only thing. It's a fantastic platform on what we can build many different pillars, but there could be other platforms.
Mhm.
And we need to build even more platform than just collagen, which is fantastic, it's great, lots of potential will grow and so on, but there could be something more.
Okay, to challenge this a little bit, and I'm not opposing it, I'm actually for it. But the numbers are that I would say, from top of my head, 80% is collagen. What's the problem? Is it like the most research and the most clinically backed ingredient? I'm helping you out. But what's the issue? Where's the issue? Yeah.
No, there is no issue per se. The only thing is I believe in the category, and I believe that the category can grow much more if we start offering consumer other choices. Because we know that, for example, collagen cannot bring every single ingredient on top. Some are not compatible with collagen. So if we want to offer some other ingredients, active ingredients on top of collagen, we may need a different base. So is in order to give consumer even more choices, or let's say benefit that we can tackle with the nutricosmetics.
Yeah, we actually experiment with, now we have in our library over 120 ingredients, maybe even 140.
Wow.
And you see that the fact is that consumer wants what he knows, and he's not aware of other ingredients. And then, if you're entering a new uncharted area, as a lot of brands are, they go for the safe bet, and I salute that. But I agree that, and I guess it's gonna take companies like ourselves also, because we want to also clinically validate some of the ingredients and are working in that direction, but it takes time. But I firmly believe that it's gonna be, in next 10 years, it's gonna be 5 to 10 ingredients. But what I'm also maybe more excited is that I think there are new stuff coming that we are not even aware of, even new technologies, how to deliver also collagen that we are not aware of. And I think it's going to be an unbelievable era, or an unbelievable era is in front of us when it comes to the ingredient side. So I have one more question, the last one. And it's going to be, so what's the one thing nobody is talking about today that will define the industry in 10 years? It can be also in 5, but 10 is, it sounds magical. 10, it's beyond 2030.
You actually made the link on your reply before, where you say there could be different ways to deliver collagen. So for me, the thing is, people start to talk about it, bioavailability. So it's not only a matter of having the right ingredient, or the right ingredient at the right concentration, but is making sure that that ingredient arrive in the right place in your body at the right time, in the right condition, so that it has an effect. We know, for example, that you cannot combine certain vitamins together or certain minerals together because they get in competition on your body. Hence, the bioavailability is, I would say, two-sided. It has two sides to aspect. One is the product itself. You need to make sure that if it's collagen or whatever ingredient it is, that you are able to get it in the right place in your body at the right time, like a bit like Pharma, no? Certain drugs you need to take after having eaten, or certain without alcohol and so on. So what are the conditions for the best delivery of the result? The other side is education, because yes, the consumer is taking your product, but he's taking also another product. Maybe he's taking a couple of gummies and then a shot of collagen, but do they interact between them? Again, similar to Pharma, the compatibility between the different drugs that people might take or should not take, because one can get in competition with another one. So there is a part of education with consumer and saying, if you take this product, make sure that you don't take ABCO, or that you take after meal, or that you take. So helping them understanding how to maximize the potential results of that product. Yeah, because we, in a way, nutricosmetic is closer to pharma. Again, ingestible interaction with all the other things that we put inside our body. Is not just the cream that we put on our skin and that's it. There are lots of things that interact. So making sure that we maximize performance and bioavailability might be something that people might start to talk more about in the future.
Well, you see, maybe to elaborate and to finish off with this thought, I think that AI is something that will make knowledge more available and hopefully solve also this puzzle, because it's a specific knowledge, and as nutricosmetic is specific, AI is a tool that potentially will democratize this knowledge to the bigger masses.
Definitely, because people already do. Actually, they look on internet, they don't use AI, but if they take some drugs, they ask on internet, can I use this in the forums with this and that? They don't ask the doctor. Tomorrow with the AI, today already with the AI, they can start saying, okay, if I use a collagen shot, can I take some zinc or iron gummies or whatever? So it could come also thanks to that.
I have one more question. I need to ask this. It's like, but it's just, it's a more personal question.
Okay.
And it's like, how do you use AI? Do you use ChatGPT? I think that a lot of them are wondering now.
I do.
How do you use it professional, maybe?
Yes, I do use AI. I use almost all of them because I use ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Perplexity, and every one of them are strength on something that's so specific. I need to admit, most of the time I use ChatGPT, but not always. For example, if I need to generate an image, Gemini is better. If I need to generate a video, I use VID. If I need to make sure one blog post is correct, is not duplicating other of my blog posts because I might repeat some of the concept, then I ask ChatGPT, I say, check my other post, is this a duplication, is not a duplication, or can I reach that? So I use for a blog post, for example. I use them for certain analysis or to confirm some assumption, but I do regularly use most of them.
Great. Vincenzo, I would like to thank you for coming. I have to say that through LinkedIn, I knew that you have great mind, but I think that we, in a way, also learn now that you're a great person. And I'm happy that I could share this with a very small public that we get on our channel. And to the rest of you, thank you for following us, and thank you for listening and watching us. And hope you enjoyed this show and podcast. And see you next time. But I don't do it frequently, so perhaps in 3 or 4 years.
Primož, thanks a lot. Really appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.